Have you ever felt like your life was seen long before you even took your first breath? Centuries ago, there was a man who walked so closely with God that he never tasted death. His name was Enoch. And what Enoch saw was not a story or a symbol. It was precise, vivid, and terrifyingly real. He looked beyond his own time and saw a generation that had not yet been born, men and women who would live in an age of corruption and chaos, yet carry within them an invisible fire that would set them apart from the rest. He wrote about people who would seem strange to the world, but familiar to heaven's souls, who would walk among the crowd, but never quite belong. They would wrestle with unseen battles, feel burdens no one else could understand, and yet remain unbroken because they were marked not with ink, but with divine fire. That same fire, unseen by ordinary eyes, would make them targets of darkness, not because they were weak, but because they carried something too powerful to be ignored. And perhaps that's why you've always felt different. You've tried to fit in, but your spirit never could. You've endured storms that didn't make sense, spiritual warfare that seemed too personal to be random. Maybe that's because Enoch wasn't just seeing a distant generation, he was seeing you. He saw those chosen to carry light in the last days, those refined by pain and sealed by God himself. He saw the ones whose presence would disturb both heaven and hell. Enoch lived in a corrupt world, yet he walked so intimately with God that he was taken from the earth without passing through death. But before he was taken, he witnessed visions that made even him tremble, not of kings or wars or empires, but of a people anointed for a sacred mission. And if your spirit stirs as you hear these words, it's because that same mark burns within you now. This is not ancient history. This is active revelation. It's unfolding through you, around you, and because of you. So stay until the end, because what you are about to hear may finally explain why your path has been so heavy, why your soul feels set apart, and why even in your loneliness there is purpose. Because the day Enoch saw his vision, he saw you. God's chosen ones, Enoch's disturbing prophecy about you revealed. Enoch once spoke of a generation who would walk through a world of noise, carrying an ancient silence that could not be broken. He called them the bearers of a light that does not go out, a flame lit in the spirit long before they entered this world. Even when the night would swallow the earth, their inner fire would still whisper the name of its source. They would not be crowned by the crowd or celebrated by the world. Instead, they would be doubted, ridiculed, and misunderstood. Their greatest battles, Enoch said, would not be fought with swords, but within wars of thought, emotion, and unseen faith. He saw them crying in secret, praying for meaning in a world that mocks devotion, standing surrounded by faces, yet feeling utterly alone, not because they were weak, but because they saw beyond the veil. They would live with a holy discomfort toward what is shallow, carrying a hunger for truth they could not explain, a thirst the world could never quench. Their sensitivity, often mistaken for fragility, would become their compass. And though the world would call it weakness, heaven would call it proof, for blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, a seeing not through eyes but through spirit. Enoch's vision grew more precise, unsettling in its detail. He described the chosen waking with a weight in the chest that reason could not cure, feeling homesick for a place they've never seen, sensing something greater pressing at the edges of this reality. How many mornings have you felt that quiet ache and wondered why it refuses to fade? He saw them moving through life like exiles, carrying a memory they could not name. It was as if pain itself had intention, guiding them toward purpose. For all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. And Enoch knew that nothing in a chosen one's suffering is wasted. Some would try to silence the fire, pretending to be ordinary, burying their brilliance in conformity. They would distract themselves with noise, numb themselves with pleasure, but the mark within them would pulse louder each time. What is divine cannot be diluted. No matter how far they drift, the call always finds them, He saw these marked ones not as preachers, but as activators. Wherever they went, the air itself would shift. Their presence alone would disturb what is false. They would bring renewal not through speeches, but through frequency, living reminders that something greater was already unfolding. And when they would begin to doubt themselves, a quiet voice would rise within saying, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." They were never meant to blend in, they were meant to illuminate. But why is it that their lives seem to unravel just as they begin to awaken? Could it be that the unraveling is not punishment, but preparation? Faith, as written in the ancient scrolls, is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see, and these souls live that assurance daily. They walk not by sight, but by sensing, trusting a whisper louder than proof. They rise again and again, wounded yet unbroken, invisible yet unshakable. Enoch foresaw them scattered across the world, unaware of one another, yet sharing the same inner frequency. They would find each other not by name but by resonance, a shared vibration that hums beneath language. When one speaks truth, another feels it in their bones. When one creates art, another weeps without knowing why. This is how the chosen recognize their kin, not through belief, but through energy. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said that purity of heart is to will one thing, and Enoch saw that too. These souls would live for one purpose alone, to align with what is real. They would not chase fame but authenticity, not comfort but clarity. And as the world grows louder, their silence will become a revolution, their peace will become protest. Enoch wrote of how their presence would awaken dormant spirits, how their kindness would expose corruption, how even their gentleness would terrify those addicted to power. He compared them to candles that refuse to bow to the wind, their flame bending but never dying. And when they speak, they do not speak from intellect, but from encounter, from the deep knowing that truth is not taught, it's remembered. For the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it, and that light lives within them still. So why do you feel such a strange ache when you hear this? Why does your heart tighten with recognition? Because perhaps Enoch wasn't writing about strangers from another time. Perhaps he saw you. Perhaps he saw the sleepless nights you can't explain, the way your heart reacts to injustice as if it's personal, the way you've always sensed that something sacred breathes through your suffering. You've spent your whole life trying to make sense of that light inside you, wondering why you never quite belonged. But the truth is, you were never meant to belong. You were meant to become. You were marked not by status or religion, but by resonance. The mark isn't seen on the skin, it burns quietly in the spirit. For as the prophet Isaiah wrote, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Enoch's disturbing prophecy was never meant to frighten you, it was meant to awaken you. It was not a warning of doom, but a reminder of destiny. He saw a generation of hidden flames rising in an age of darkness, a generation that would walk between heaven and earth, carrying the architecture of divine light within them. And now, across centuries, that prophecy finds its way to your ears. If you feel the pulse of that calling in your chest, if something deep within you whispers, "This is me," then the vision has found its fulfillment. Because the chosen are not coming, they are already here. They are remembering. You are remembering. And perhaps that is what Enoch truly saw, not the end of the world, but the beginning of its awakening. The chosen ones Enoch saw were never the flawless, the fearless, or the famous. They were not born ready. They did not arrive with a manual or a halo. They were born human, soft, searching, breakable. They laughed like everyone else, cried like everyone else, and yet somewhere along the line, something began to ache. A discomfort with the common, a quiet unrest with the surface, a pain that refused to go away. It began as a whisper they could not silence, a question that followed them from childhood into the storm of adulthood. Why am I like this? Why do I feel so deeply, see so much, care so fiercely, hurt so easily? The answer, though hidden, was already written into the blueprint of their being. Jeremiah 1-5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." The restlessness they carried was not rebellion, it was recognition. Their spirit remembered what their mind had forgotten. They grew up trying to fit into a pattern that could not hold them, forcing a kind of normal that always tore at the edges. They played the roles, wore the masks, and smiled in rooms that drained them. They sought acceptance in places that rejected their essence. And even when everything seemed to go right, an emptiness lingered, a hollow echo of something missing. That emptiness was not punishment, it was invitation. It was heaven knocking from within. Many mistook it for loneliness, but it was something far holier. It was the mark beginning to pulse beneath the surface. This mark was never meant to be seen, it was meant to be felt. It showed itself in the way they noticed pain others ignored, in the way injustice pierced them like a personal wound, in their compulsion to heal what was not theirs to carry. They were not fragile, they were finely tuned, sensitive to frequencies others could not hear. Enoch described this with startling clarity. He said they would feel more because they were made to carry more. Their empathy would not be a weakness, it would be evidence of divine endurance. They would be shaped not for comfort, but for capacity. For as 2 Corinthians 12-9 reminds us, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Their very vulnerability would become the vessel for divine strength. Most of them, however, would not see themselves as chosen. In truth, many would think something was wrong with them. They would call themselves too emotional, too intense, too complicated. They would hold themselves to impossible standards, doubting their worth, questioning their gifts, flirting with the thought of giving up. But Enoch saw that what they call burden is actually blueprint. The heaviness they feel is not flaw, it is design. The chosen are not marked because they are better than others. They are marked because they are built to endure what others cannot. They are not ornaments, they are instruments. The sculptor leaves more pressure on the stone that must bear greater weight. The architect reinforces the foundation that will hold the tallest structure. This is why their path feels heavier. They are not being punished, they are being prepared. Every attack, every heartbreak, every disappointment has been refinement, stripping away illusion to reveal essence. As Isaiah 48:10 says, "I have refined you, though not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." The fire was never meant to destroy them, it was meant to prove them. Enoch saw that when these souls enter a space, the atmosphere shifts. They do not announce themselves, but heaven recognizes them, and darkness reacts to them. They bring light into places that have forgotten what light feels like. Their presence becomes a quiet mirror in which falsehood cannot hide. They bring clarity to confusion, peace to chaos, direction to disarray, and most of the time, they do this in silence, unseen, unrewarded, uncelebrated. Yet, the unseen world trembles when they arrive, because what they carry cannot be counterfeited. It radiates authority born from intimacy with pain. They are warriors who fight not with weapons but with energy, not with words but with presence. Their strength is invisible but unmistakable, like a frequency that steadies the spiritual air around them. Ephesians 6:12 describes their reality well. "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms." And still, there are moments when they break, nights when the silence feels like abandonment, days when the weight of calling feels too much to bear. Have you ever wondered why your storms seem harsher than others? Why your trials seem tailor-made to target your heart? Enoch said this too, that the greater the war, the clearer the mark. The enemy never wastes energy on those who pose no threat. The resistance you face is evidence of your purpose. The mark of the chosen is not a brand of pride, it is a covenant of endurance. They were designed not only to survive, but to transform. When they enter a space, decay slows down. When they speak, confusion loses shape. When they pray, invisible walls crumble. They are catalysts of divine order in places of chaos. And yet, they are human. They bleed, they question, they fall. But each time they rise, they do not return the same. Their pain becomes prophecy, their scars become strategy. They do not simply recover, they rebuild. This is the essence of transformation. Their lives are symphonies of broken notes rearranged into beauty, proof that divinity does not erase humanity, it redeems it. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote that what stands in the way becomes the way. Enoch's prophecy mirrored that truth. The obstacles the chosen face are not obstructions, but openings. Their suffering is the passage through which light enters the world. So, who are the chosen? They are the quiet ones who feel too much and understand too deeply. They are the ones who carry peace into rooms filled with noise, who love without reason, who endure without recognition. They are the ones who don't just survive the darkness, they absorb it, transform it, and return it as light. If you have wondered why your heart feels heavier than most, why you can't seem to rest in mediocrity, why your soul resists the shallow when everyone else seems content, then perhaps Enoch saw you. Perhaps that divine discomfort is not a curse but confirmation, because the mark you carry was never meant to make you different, it was meant to make you divine. Enoch foresaw a generation of chosen ones who would face not only the weight of their calling, but the temptation to abandon it. He saw them struggling, wanting to hide from the mark they carried, wishing to live a normal life. The idea of blending in, of shedding the constant tension that came with their purpose, would be so appealing. But for them, that path would only lead to more pain. For they were created for depth, and everything shallow suffocates their spirit. They cannot live by appearances, for their soul demands truth. It craves meaning, purpose, eternity. They were never meant for the surface. Their call runs deeper than the world could ever understand. The mark they carry burns, not in a way that destroys, but in a way that bothers, that irritates the soul with reminders of what they are truly called to do. It nags at them, even in the darkest moments. It pulses when their faith wanes, when they feel disconnected from everything they once believed in. Even when they are lost, the mark persists, whispering softly, "Remember who you are." It is as though the very fibers of their being have been stitched together by something far older than their physical body, a divine thread pulling them back to purpose, to origin, to the truth that has always called them home. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." The chosen can never truly escape the plan, because it runs through their bones, and no matter how far they stray, it calls them back. They are not conventional leaders. They are like hidden torches that only light up when the darkness arrives. They are buried seeds, waiting for the right time to sprout, to rise, and illuminate what has long been hidden. Enoch saw that this generation would not rise with fanfare or warning, but when they did, the spiritual course of the world would shift. Because where there is light, the darkness cannot stand still. And though the light might not be visible to the world at first, it shifts something deep in the unseen realms. The darkness feels it. The chosen were never made to stand out for ego. They were made to stand for purpose. They were shaped in pain to have compassion, suffered rejection to offer welcome, and walked alone so they could guide others to the light. They do not have all the answers, but they carry something rare, a silent steadiness that steadies others. They are the ones who walk through storms with calm hearts, offering peace to those who have never known it. Enoch saw them as a small but mighty group, few in number, but immense in their capacity to change everything. They do not rise to be seen, they rise to serve. But there is one truth Enoch described that many chosen ones would not understand for years. The internal war they would face would be hidden from the world. While others live their lives unaware, these chosen ones would be embroiled in intense internal battles that no one could comprehend. These would not be physical fights. They would be mental, spiritual, and emotional. Doubts would plague them, Fear would grip them, and confusion would cloud their thoughts. They would face spiritual attacks that no one would see. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." The battles would be unseen, but they would be very real. Everything would come in heavy, silent waves. They would fight without noise, bleeding internally, often feeling misunderstood and alone in their suffering. These attacks are not random. They are targeted. The spiritual realm knows exactly who they are, even if they do not know it yet. The mark they carry is a light that shines in the darkness, attracting resistance not because they've done anything wrong, but because their mere existence disturbs. These chosen ones carry a presence that provokes. They do not have to speak for the darkness to feel it. Their energy alone causes ripples in the world around them, and this is what turns them into targets. They are misunderstood. Most of the time, they cannot explain the depth of what they feel, and when they try, people call it exaggeration, drama, or weakness. But it is not. It is spiritual weight, an invisible burden that they carry, one that was activated too early, without a manual, without a clear path. They did not choose this war, but it was written in their bones before they were born. And the pressure they feel does not only come from the outside, it rises from within. A conflict rages inside them between wanting to stay silent and feeling a relentless urge to speak, between needing to rest and knowing they cannot stop. The mind becomes tired, the spirit weary, but the call never fades. It is as if the body itself wants to stop, but the soul knows it cannot. The divine rhythm of their purpose beats on, pushing them forward even when they long for rest. This is where their struggle lies. Their greatest battle will be against the desire to blend in, to soften their truth, to fit the world. The pressure to shrink, to conform, to live for the approval of others will weigh heavily on them. But the truth, as Enoch saw it, is that they were never meant to blend in. They were born to break through. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." For the chosen, the war does not end with them. It has already been won. They are part of a larger unfolding, an awakening that began long before them and will stretch far beyond them. The mark they carry is not only for them, it is for all of creation. The internal wars they face now are not signs of weakness. They are the very refining that makes them instruments of divine transformation. So, the next time you feel the weight of your own inner war, remember, you are not alone, you are not broken, you are not mistaken, you are chosen. And your battle, your struggle, your spiritual weight is the very thing that makes you who you are. You were not born to fit into a world that doesn't understand you. You were born to change it. And even in your deepest battles, when you feel like giving up, when you wonder if the fight is too much, remember that the mark you carry was never meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you to carry what the world cannot yet see. You were made to endure what others cannot, because in the end, it is not just about surviving the storm, it is about becoming the force that calms it. Enoch's vision of the chosen ones was not just about their external struggles, it was about the war inside them. The body gives in, but something deeper, more relentless, insists, continue. Do not give up. Not now. That inner voice, the one that does not rest, does not go silent, is part of the mark they carry. It's not a comforting whisper, but a persistent, unyielding call. It doesn't let them forget their purpose, even when the weight of life tries to convince them to quit. This is the part of them that can never be stilled, the part that rises from the ashes no matter how many times it is burned. Enoch saw that the chosen ones would struggle with guilt, even for the failures that others commit without a second thought. The pressure they put on themselves is far heavier than anyone else could imagine. The internal demand is high, so high that they don't allow themselves to rest, to err, to live without the constant tension of being better. Even when they are surrounded by imperfection, They feel this drive, this need to always be more. Romans 7:24 echoes this battle. What a wretched man I am! Who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death? It is a deep, internal recognition that something more is expected of them, and yet they live surrounded by imperfection in a world that constantly calls for compromise. But it is precisely this understanding of higher calling that brings an unrelenting inner burden. The weight they feel, always a little off, always striving, never quite satisfied with good enough, is not a flaw, but a sign. Deep down, they know they were called to something greater, something beyond the limitations of the world around them. And this gnawing feeling, though painful, is the sign of alignment. It pulls them toward their true purpose. Philippians 3:14 says, I press on toward the goal, to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. It is Yet, as they live with this high calling, they are constantly surrounded by distractions, proposals, paths, ideas that seem good. Some even feel right, as if they align with their soul. But somewhere deep inside, they know the truth. They know these things are not for them. There is an invisible filter, a divine sense of direction that rejects anything that is not in line with their purpose. And when they ignore this, when they insist on following paths that feel good enough, the result is pain, not because they are being punished, but because they are misaligned. Proverbs 14:12 warns, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. The pain they feel is the divine warning system reminding them of their sacred journey. This internal struggle is not limited to career or purpose, it spills over into relationships. The chosen ones often feel misinterpreted, misunderstood, rejected, or forgotten by those around them. They open up and yet are judged. They share their hearts, only to find the world is either indifferent or hostile. It is as if the very energy they carry disrupts the comfort of others. They are seen as different, as too much, as too intense. Matthew 10:22 reminds them, you will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. Well, in their relationships, they are called to stand alone, but never without a purpose. They are misunderstood, but never lost. Every rejection, every misunderstood gesture, every silence in response to their vulnerability is a confirmation that their mark is visible in the spiritual realm, even if no one else can see it. The deeper they walk into their purpose, the more they find themselves at odds with those who don't understand it. And yet, this is the paradox they must face. The chosen ones are often misunderstood because their energy calls out to something higher. Their essence disrupts the comfort of others, and this discomfort creates distance. The very act of them existing with a truth that can't be diluted causes tension, and in that tension they will be tested. They will question themselves, and at times feel as though they don't belong anywhere, least of all in their own skin. But in truth, it is this very discomfort that marks them as the ones set apart for transformation. They are called to break through the illusion of normalcy. The world tries to force them into a mold that doesn't fit, but it can't contain the fire they carry. Every time they choose to stand in their truth, to align with what they know in their soul, they step further into their power. 1 John 4:4 says, you, dear children, are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. This is the true essence of their power, the divine light that refuses to be hidden, the truth that cannot be diluted, the fire that can never be extinguished. And so they rise. They rise not because it's easy, but because they must. They rise not because they're flawless, but because they are faithful to the call, even when it hurts. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when the world tells them to stop, they rise. This is the path of the chosen, and though the world may not see it, heaven recognizes their power, their struggle, their presence. The mark they carry is not a curse, but a crown that will only shine brighter as they walk the path they were always meant to walk. The fire may burn, but it refines them, and with each passing day, they become more of the person they were always meant to be. So, if you are walking this path, if you feel that discomfort in your soul, if you sense that gnawing hunger for something greater, know this: the battle is not against you, it is for you. You are not broken, you are not lost, you are being prepared, and in that preparation, you are becoming the light the world desperately needs. You may be misunderstood now, but soon enough, your presence will speak louder than words ever could. And when you rise, it will not just be for you, it will be for all the souls waiting for someone like you to lead them out of the darkness. When they are silent, they are often ignored. It's a silence that goes beyond the absence of words. It's an emotional isolation. They may be present in a room, surrounded by others, yet they never quite belong. They participate, but they never truly fit in. And this feeling of being both part of the world and apart from it follows them like a shadow, unseen by most, but deeply felt within. This silent alienation becomes a companion they cannot escape, and yet they cannot explain it. Enoch foresaw this with remarkable clarity. He wrote that the chosen would be known for their suffering without explanation, for pains that could not be soothed by advice, for wounds too deep for words. Their resilience would not be loud, and it would not be obvious. It would be silent, a strength that defies understanding, even their own. It would not be a strength born from the world's standards, but a deeper one, planted long before they were born. 2 Corinthians 12:9 echoes this truth. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." The strength they carry is not their own. It was given long before their birth, hidden within them until the moment it is needed. They are attacked, but they do not fall. They fall, yet they continue. This paradox, this duality of strength and fragility, marks their journey. It is not that they are immune to pain. Rather, their pain becomes the crucible of their power. It is a strength that is not emotional, not mental, it is spiritual. Their resilience is not from their own will, but from the divine purpose that holds them steady in the midst of turmoil. Enoch saw this too. The resilience of the chosen would not be of this world, it would be of another realm. Even so, there are days when everything feels meaningless. They ask themselves if it's all worth it. They consider the possibility of disappearing, of stepping out of the story, of going silent forever. But even in those moments, when the weight of the world seems unbearable, something holds them. A detail, a memory, a flicker of the divine breath that never leaves them. It is as though something deeper, something eternal, calls them back to purpose. Isaiah 40:31 speaks to this truth. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. This invisible breath, this force that sustains them, is the mark that Enoch spoke of. It is not a force that can be seen, but it is felt. It calls them back when they want to give up, reminding them of the truth that lives deep within their soul. It is the mark of divine resilience, the strength that keeps them moving even when the path seems too dark to continue. The world may not see their struggle, but heaven does. The light they carry is not meant to shine brightly all the time, but it is always there, pulsing with divine purpose, even when they feel unseen. Enoch's prophecy was never one of glory, but of divine preparation. The chosen were not made for easy roads, but for deep spiritual transformation. The silent strength they carry is the very thing that will change the world, not in loud, obvious ways, but in the subtle, invisible ways that shift the course of destinies. They may not understand it now, but they are becoming exactly who they were meant to be. The suffering they endure is not punishment, it is the forging of their spirit. And though they may feel alone, misunderstood, or forgotten, they are never truly abandoned. The invisible breath that sustains them will always lead them back to their purpose, because they are the ones Enoch saw, the ones who were marked before they even knew it. And now, their time is coming. This is Enoch's intercession. He saw all of this, the isolation, the battles, the silent struggles, and he prayed for them. He asked God, "Do not let them forget who they are." For Enoch understood that the war these chosen ones face is not punishment, it is the reflection of the greatness of their identity. The greater the attack, the more precious the soul under siege. 1 Peter 1-7 speaks to this truth. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes, even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. The enemy does not waste time on those who pose no threat. The higher the calling, the greater the opposition. The more valuable the vessel, the stronger the resistance. The chosen are living resistance. Even in their silence, they disturb the world around them. Even when they are wounded, they still shine. This light within them refuses to be extinguished, even when they wish it could be. 2 Corinthians 4-8-9 speaks to this. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. Even when the external world crumbles, the chosen continue, because the mark they carry is not just for them, it is for something much greater. Living with the mark is the price of being chosen. It is not a badge they wear with pride, but a divine calling that follows them wherever they go. This mark does not fade with time, nor does it disappear when they try to live like anyone else. It is persistent, pressing, an invisible force that never lets them rest in mediocrity. Even when they try to forget, even when they drift away or pretend they have forgotten their purpose, the mark burns. And it doesn't hurt like punishment, it hurts like longing, like a constant, aching reminder that they were made for more. Enoch saw this. He described the silent fire that burns within them, burns even in the darkest moments. This flame, though it may feel like pain, is actually the divine protection that keeps them from fully surrendering to the darkness. It is the very thing that keeps them going when everything falls apart. Even in the deepest moments of doubt, when all feels lost, the mark reminds them that they were made for something greater. It burns to keep them aligned with their calling, to stop them from slipping into the abyss. Jeremiah 29-11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." The mark is a living reminder of this divine promise. No matter how deep the valley, the purpose remains. The life of the chosen is not comfortable. They cannot afford the luxury of losing themselves in distractions like others. The things that amuse most people bore them. Empty conversations drain them. Shallow ambitions do not satisfy them. The world will try to distract them, to pull them into meaningless pursuits, but the mark within them will never allow them to rest in the shallow end. Their soul longs for depth, for substance, for truth that goes beyond the surface. They may try to fit in, to live like others, but they cannot. The very mark that makes them different is the thing that keeps them awake when the world sleeps. The distractions of the world no longer appeal, because they have tasted something more. Matthew 6:33 tells us, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." The chosen ones are called to seek something higher. They are called to seek the kingdom, and everything else will be a byproduct of that pursuit. Even when the mark feels like a weight too heavy to carry, it is the very thing that will save them. It is the divine protection, the divine call, the divine purpose that will keep them from sinking into despair. The mark will not let them forget who they are. And though they may feel alone, misunderstood, or unappreciated, the mark remains a beacon of truth and purpose. Do you feel that mark within you? Has it burned in your heart, even when everything else seemed to fade? The mark is not there to destroy you. It is there to remind you of the destiny you carry. Even when the world doesn't understand, even when the path seems too dark, the mark will keep you grounded. In the darkest hours, when the world seems to be closing in, the mark within them will not let them quit. It will remind them that they were made for this moment, that they are part of something far greater than themselves. Enoch saw this, and he prayed for them, that they would not forget their calling, even when the world seemed to turn against them. Have you ever thought about abandoning your calling, or have you ever been tempted to hide from the weight of your purpose? The mark, though it burns, is what will keep you grounded in your truth. It will not let you give up on the world that needs you. The chosen are not perfect, they are not invincible, they are human and they will struggle. But the mark they carry is not one of condemnation, it is a mark of destiny, of divine purpose. It is the silent flame that burns, reminding them of who they were born to be. And no matter how hard the path, they will walk it. Not because they are strong in themselves, but because they are carried by the strength of the mark that has been placed upon them. Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me," and it is through that strength, the divine strength in them, that they will continue to rise, continue to burn, continue to illuminate the world, even in the silence. In those moments of doubt, when your strength feels small, where do you turn? What sustains you when you feel like giving up? The mark inside you is your constant guide. It's the flame that will never die, even when everything else fades away. This sensitivity makes them seem disconnected from reality, but the truth is, their reality is much deeper. They feel things differently, intensely, profoundly, with a depth others may never experience. The weight of an environment that is dense with negativity or tension is enough to exhaust them. A poorly placed word can affect them deeply, not because they are fragile, but because they are spiritually exposed. They are tuned to frequencies that others cannot hear, sensing shifts in energy, feeling when something is out of place. Romans 8:22 tells us, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time." The chosen ones feel the groans of creation. They sense what is hidden beneath the surface. This heightened awareness protects them, but it also isolates them. Not everyone understands this sensitivity, and because of it, they often feel like outsiders. They live with an inner knowing, but it's not always understood or appreciated by the world around them. They can walk into a room and instantly feel the undercurrent of emotions, the unspoken words hanging in the air. For most, this might be a blessing, but for them, it can be a burden. They cannot turn off their sensitivity, and so they must navigate the world as if they are always exposed to its raw edges. The mark they carry does not only affect their emotional landscape, but also shapes their path. Nothing is simple for them. While others may find their way with ease, the chosen find their journey laden with obstacles. What flows naturally for others seems to stumble for them. They may be told they're unlucky, that the world is against them, but in truth, their path is not the common one. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Their journey is divinely unique, designed not to follow the already traveled path, but to forge new routes, new directions that others cannot yet see. They are pioneers, blazing trails for those who will follow, but the process requires not just effort, but constant courage. Enoch saw this. He knew the chosen would carry scars, physical, emotional, and spiritual marks that could not be explained. These scars would not be the kind that heal and fade. They would be the kind that shape them, that shape the way they see the world. These marks are not symbols of weakness, they are symbols of endurance, of battles fought and survived. Isaiah 53:5 tells us, "But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed." The chosen know what it is to carry pain, but through that pain they also know healing. Through their scars they see the world with an empathy that is deeper than understanding. These scars create a rare kind of empathy. The chosen ones do not judge easily because they have already faced struggles that have torn at their souls. They have walked through darkness, and because of this, they have learned to look at others with compassion, not with criticism. Matthew 7:1-2 says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. The chosen know the weight of judgment too well. They know how heavy it can feel, how suffocating it can be. And so they extend grace to others, knowing that everyone carries some unseen weight. This sensitivity, this capacity to feel deeply, is not a curse, it is a gift, though it often feels like a burden. But in truth, it is the very thing that allows the chosen to see what others miss, to understand what others cannot. 1 Corinthians 2:10 reminds us, "These are the things God has revealed to us by His Spirit. The Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God." The chosen have been given access to the deeper things, the hidden layers of life, and with that access comes responsibility. They carry the weight of the world's suffering, but they also carry the potential to heal it. And though they may feel isolated in their sensitivity, they are not alone. They are connected to a larger purpose, a divine mission that cannot be undone. The mark they carry, though invisible to most, is felt deeply by heaven. It is a mark of spiritual authority, a reminder that they are being prepared for something greater than themselves. Romans 8:19 says, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. The world is waiting for the chosen to rise and fulfill the purpose they were born to complete." Do you ever feel that your sensitivity is a curse, that it sets you apart in ways that are painful? In truth, it is not a curse, it is a divine gift. You are called to feel deeply, to see the world not as it is, but as it should be. Have you ever wondered why things don't come as easily for you as they do for others? Could it be because your journey is not meant to be easy? It is meant to be transformative, both for you and for the world around you. Your path is unique, and while it may be difficult, it is shaping you into someone who can create change in ways others cannot. What would happen if you stopped seeing your scars as signs of weakness and started seeing them as marks of your divine purpose? Your scars are not blemishes, they are the map to your power, the proof of your resilience, and the evidence that you were made for something greater. The chosen ones are not meant to be ordinary. They are meant to change the world, one small act of compassion, one deep breath at a time. They may be misunderstood, they may feel isolated, but in their depths they carry the light that the world needs. And as long as they keep walking, even with the weight of their sensitivity, they will continue to shine. In spite of everything, the chosen ones possess a strength that defies the odds. They rise even when they are exhausted, when every part of their being says, "Give up." They console others, even when their own hearts are broken, offering light and warmth, even when their souls are in turmoil. They remain firm, even when the path ahead is unclear, when the direction feels lost. This strength does not come from within them, it comes from above. It is a spiritual inheritance, a gift activated by the very mark they carry. It is not their own power, but a divine power that sustains them when all seems impossible. They are equipped to withstand pressures that no one can see, hidden burdens that only their spirits can bear. Isaiah 40:29 speaks to this truth. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. The chosen are not just strong in their own right, they are strengthened by the unseen, by something greater than themselves, by a source that never runs dry. And this strength is not just for them, it is for the world around them, to guide, to protect, to uplift. It is a force that bends but does not break. It is the intercession that sustains them, the invisible prayer that shields them, the unseen hand that holds them steady even in the midst of the storm. Romans 8:26 reminds us, "In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans." This is the intercession that sustains the chosen, the prayer that holds them up when they cannot pray for themselves. When Enoch was taken by God, he did not go with empty hands. He took with him a cry, a request, a prayer not for himself, but for a people who had not yet been born. Enoch saw the chosen. He saw the weight they would carry. He saw the wars they would face, the isolation, the rejection, the misunderstandings. He interceded on their behalf, praying that they would not be destroyed by the forces that would come against them. He did not ask for riches. He did not ask for physical protection. What he asked for was far more profound. He asked that the marked ones would not forget who they are. Enoch understood that the greatest attack on the chosen would not be against their physical bodies, but against their very identity, because if they forget who they are, they begin to live as if they were anyone. Proverbs 4:23 reminds us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." If the enemy can steal their sense of purpose, if they forget who they were created to be, they will wander lost in the world. Enoch wept for this generation. His words crossed dimensions, his cry spreading like an echo through the corridors of heaven. He prayed that on the hardest days, the chosen would receive signs from heaven that only they would understand, whispers that would remind them of their divine purpose. Even when the world tried to erase them, when it sought to silence their voice, the signs would remain, calling them back to who they truly are. Heaven would not forget them, and neither should they. This intercession, this prayer from Enoch, is what keeps so many from giving up. It is the unseen strength that supports the chosen when they feel they have nothing left. And that is why, even wounded, you still feel something holding you. Even in your darkest moments, when you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, there is a force that keeps you going. Psalm 34:18 reminds us, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." This is the promise that Enoch foresaw, that when the chosen are broken, heaven is closest. Have you ever noticed how, in your moments of collapse, when you feel like everything is falling apart, something small happens that pulls you back? A song, a memory, a word spoken at the right time, something that reminds you that you are not alone. It is not coincidence, it is not luck, it is an answer. It is the intercession of heaven, answering the cry that Enoch made so many generations ago. Have you ever wondered why, when everything seems lost, something still keeps you going? Could it be that it is the silent intercession that Enoch prayed over your life long before you were born? In those moments when you are at your lowest, how do you feel the strength to rise again? Could it be that the answer comes not from your own willpower, but from the prayers of those who have gone before you, those who interceded on your behalf, even before you knew your name? When the world tries to erase your identity, how do you hold on to who you truly are? What signs from heaven keep you anchored in your purpose, reminding you of the mark that is deep within you, even when everything else fades away? This intercession is the key to understanding why, even in your deepest pain, you continue to rise. It is the divine protection, the shield that holds you up, the call that reminds you of your true purpose. And it will never let you forget who you are, because heaven is with you every step of the way. It is Enoch's prayer reaching your generation, not a prayer that died with time, but one that transcended centuries, echoing through the corridors of heaven and into your life. His prayer was not for himself, it was for you, the marked ones, the chosen ones, who stand today because of a request made before you were even born. This is not by your own merit, it is by divine covering, by invisible grace that holds you steady even when you feel like falling. Isaiah 55:11 reminds us that, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." This prayer, this intercession, is living, and it carries the weight of centuries, reaching you now. This changes everything. You are not a random person just trying to survive. You are not a casualty of life's battles. You are someone sustained by ancient words, spoken by a man who saw the end of time and cried out for you. His words are the invisible shield that has been protecting you long before you realized it. The pain that didn't break you, the struggles that seemed unbearable, were not for nothing. They shaped you. Enoch saw the pain of the chosen, but not ordinary pain. It was a pain deeper than the surface, a wound not inflicted by others, but by the very depth of their calling. It was an internal agony that no one else could fully comprehend, yet it was necessary for the shaping of their purpose. Enoch saw that this pain would not be random, nor would it be a mark of failure. It would be constant, yes, but purposeful. James 1:3-4 tells us, "Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This pain was not a punishment, it was part of the process of formation, because those who carry the light must first be shaped from within, where it burns before it can shine outward. Many of the marked ones went through betrayals too early, too painfully. They were rejected while still young, felt abandoned when they most needed support. They experienced deep wounds that left scars, but even then they kept going. Enoch saw this and knew that the pain was not a sign of abandonment, but of preparation. Each disappointment dug deeper into their spirit, and the deeper the dig, the more room there was for the roots to grow. Matthew 13:21 says, "But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. But for the chosen, the roots were growing deep. Each painful experience was strengthening them, expanding their capacity for what was to come. The pain did not destroy them, it revealed them. It revealed who they truly are, resilient, enduring, capable of withstanding storms that would break others. It showed them what they could endure, how far they could go. Their weaknesses were not their downfall, they were transformed into shields. Their tears became fuel for the fire within them. While others might break under the weight of the same burdens, the marked resist, not because they are immune to pain, but because they were trained by it. Romans 5:3-4 says, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." They were trained not by ease but by hardship, not by comfort but by the testing of their spirit. This pain is not visible to others. It does not show in outward signs. No one can see why certain moments hurt so much, why certain words, certain actions leave a deep mark. But for the chosen, every detail is felt deeply. Their spirit perceives what the eyes cannot see. They are aware of things that others are blind to. This heightened sensitivity, though often tiring, is part of their divine design. Proverbs 20:12 says, "Ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both." Their senses are sharper because their souls have been sharpened by pain, by experience, by divine shaping. And yes, it can be exhausting. At times, it feels as if the weight is too much to bear. But still, they continue. They do not give up. They rise, even when they feel broken. Even wounded, they help others, offering the light they've fought so hard to keep burning. Even when they feel they have nothing left, they keep going because they know there is a greater purpose in their persistence. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." This is the promise to the chosen, that even in the deepest weariness, the strength to keep going will come from above. Have you ever wondered why you are able to keep going, even when everything feels like it's falling apart? It is not your own strength. It is the strength given to you from above, the same divine strength that held you through your darkest days. Have you ever questioned the pain you've experienced, wondering if it was too much to bear? The truth is, your pain is the refining that has made you who you are. It has prepared you to carry the light that others cannot. It has turned you into a vessel strong enough to endure, to heal, and to help others find their way. In the moments when you feel like giving up, what keeps you moving forward? Is it the silent prayer that has been interceding for you, even before you were born? Is it the mark that has been placed upon you, reminding you that you were never meant to give up? Enoch's prayer has reached across time, and it has found its home in you. This prayer, this divine covering, is what sustains you in the darkest times. The pain that didn't break you is the very thing that shapes you into the person you are meant to be. You are not a random person trying to survive. You are part of something far greater. You are part of a divine legacy, sustained by ancient intercession and shaped by the mark of purpose that calls you higher, calls you to rise, even when it feels impossible. Enoch saw them as silent but unbreakable people, a generation marked by scars that would become maps for others. Their pain would not destroy them, it would shape them. Their scars would not be symbols of weakness, but of resilience, and the very thing that would guide others through the darkness. 2 Corinthians 1-4 says, "Who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." These scars, born from battles, fought and survived, would become beacons of light for those who needed it most. The awakening of the marked is a process Enoch saw in his vision, a slow, gradual rise, not all at once, but little by little. It would not be loud, it would not be flashy. It would not come with fame or stages or applause. It would begin quietly, like sparks appearing in the midst of darkness, first one, then another, until an invisible network of light began to form. A generation waking up to who it truly is, who they were always meant to be. This awakening would not happen on a grand scale first. It would happen internally, quietly, but powerfully. It would begin as a deep discomfort, a stirring in the soul, an unease that builds slowly but surely into a certainty. I was not made to live like everyone else. I was marked, and I need to take my stand. Have you ever felt that deep discomfort within you? The sense that you are not meant to live the way others do? That feeling that stirs in the quiet of your heart, urging you to step into your true calling. This awakening would not come from emotion alone. It would be born of the Spirit, activated at just the right moment, when the soul has been prepared by the trials it has endured. Enoch wrote that the darkness would fear this moment, because when one marked soul awakens, the ripple effect begins. When one takes a stand, it ignites others. The mark has a voice, and when it begins to shine, it echoes. The echo disturbs everything that is out of alignment. Matthew 5:14 tells us, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. The light within the chosen will not be hidden any longer. It will shine, and as it does, it will disturb what is false, what is shallow, and what does not align with divine purpose." Have you noticed how your presence can shift the energy around you? How something as simple as standing firm in your truth can stir change in the world around you? That is the power of the mark, the way it moves, shifts, and awakens others. But this awakening requires decisions. It is not a passive experience. It requires leaving what is shallow behind. It requires confronting your own comfort zone, stepping out of the illusions you once lived in, and facing the truth about who you are meant to be. But it also brings clarity, direction, and strength. What once felt confusing will suddenly make sense. The pain that seemed inexplicable will transform into a tool for construction. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." The trials were not in vain. They were shaping you for the purpose that is now becoming clear. Have you ever felt that something inside you is waking up, but you're not sure exactly what it means? Could it be that the pain you've endured, the battles you've fought, are all part of your spiritual training, preparing you to fulfill the purpose you were always meant to serve? As the marked ones awaken, they do so with awareness. They no longer apologize for being different. They no longer try to hide. They understand that they were called, sealed, and prepared for such a time as this. They understand that everything they have lived through, the pain, the wars, the silences, was not by accident. It was all part of the process that has now brought them to this moment, to this awakening. They are no longer the people they once were. They are becoming the people they were always meant to be. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Every step, every hardship has been part of the divine preparation for the work ahead. When was the moment you stopped apologizing for being different, for standing apart? When did you begin to accept the mark within you and realize that it was not something to hide, but something to embrace? Enoch saw a generation waking up to their true identity, and as they wake up, they begin to shine, each spark igniting another, creating a fire that cannot be put out. The marked ones are not just surviving, they are being shaped to transform the world. They are awakening to the truth of who they are, and in doing so, they are bringing light to the darkness, clarity to confusion, and strength to the weak. So, if you feel that stirring within you, if you feel the weight of your calling pressing you forward, remember this: you are not alone. You are part of a generation that Enoch saw, a generation that is awakening, and your light is needed. It is time for you to stand firm in who you are. It is time for you to rise. The awakening is not an end point. It is the beginning. It is the moment when the chosen recognize themselves as part of the prophecy, as the living answer to what was seen by Enoch. From that moment on, they no longer walk through life as someone lost, but as someone who knows. The fire they carry is real, and it is lit. They are not wandering aimlessly, they are walking with purpose, a deep, unshakable understanding that the mark upon them is a sign of destiny. 1 John 2:20 reminds us, "But you have an anointing from the Holy One, and all of you know the truth." The chosen ones awaken to the truth of who they are, realizing that they are the very ones Enoch saw long before they even existed. Enoch did not have visions for himself. He did not ask for revelations out of vanity or curiosity. He saw because he needed to record. He was chosen to see what no one else could see, a generation marked before its time. He saw the future, the battles, the triumphs, and the trials. He saw faces, though he did not know their names. And even without knowing your name, he saw you. Jeremiah 1-5 echoes this truth. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Enoch's vision was not random, it was divinely appointed. He saw you before you were even born, and his vision holds purpose because now you are here. What Enoch did went beyond simply writing. He interceded. He stood in the gap, crying out for mercy, for direction, and for protection for those who would come after him. He did not just see the challenges, he prayed for those who would face them. He prayed for you, literally for you. His heart was not just for the future, but for those who would walk the path of struggle and awakening. His prayer was not merely a wish, but a divine cry that reached across time. It is that prayer that sustains you today. Romans 8:34 reminds us, "Who then is the one who condemns? No one. Christ Jesus, who died more than that, who was raised to life, is at the right hand of God and is also interceding for us." Enoch's intercession is alive and active in your life, standing as a reminder that you are not alone in this journey. Do you ever feel like you were meant for something greater, that your struggles have a deeper purpose? Enoch saw your battles, your pain, your victories, and he cried out for you before you even knew who you were. His vision is not just a past prophecy, it is a living promise that guides you now. Enoch saw that this generation would not be common. It would be strategic, it would be decisive. These would be people shaped in silence, trained by pain, and called for a time such as this. He knew that the moment this generation awakened, the spiritual world would shake. Their light would not be emotional or fleeting, it would be eternal, and it would confront the darkness directly, fearlessly. Matthew 5:14 reminds us, "You are the light of the world." A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. The chosen ones carry a light that cannot be extinguished, a fire that will not be dimmed by the world's trials. Their light is not born from emotion, it is born from divine purpose, eternal and unyielding. Have you ever felt the weight of your purpose pressing on you, reminding you that you are here for something greater than yourself? The moment you awaken to who you are, you become part of the divine plan, an unshakable force that the darkness cannot resist. You are not just part of the story. You are the continuation of Enoch's vision. His existence makes sense because you are here now. His prayer remains alive because you still carry the seal. Revelation 7:3 says, "Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God." The seal Enoch saw on you is still present. It marks you as chosen, set apart for this moment. His vision, his intercession, was not for a distant future. It was for you, for this generation, for the work you are called to do. He did not see symbols or abstractions. He saw real people with real marks, real battles, and a destiny aligned with heaven. Do you ever feel the weight of the call on your life, that even in the quiet moments, you carry the echo of something much larger than yourself? It is the same echo that Enoch heard, the same echo that has been reverberating through the ages, calling you to stand, to rise, to shine. Enoch saw you. He saw this moment. And now, it is your time to awaken, to stand firm in the identity that has always been yours. You are not a random person. You are not a victim of chance. You are part of the divine prophecy, part of the living answer to what Enoch saw. And now, your light will shine, and it will disrupt the darkness. Your awakening is not just for you, it is for the world. It is the fulfillment of a prayer that began long before you were born, and now you are the one who carries it forward. As we come to the end of this journey through Enoch's vision, I want to remind you of one thing. This is not just a story. This is your story. The prophecy Enoch saw is unfolding right before your eyes. The pain, the struggles, the isolation you have felt, they are not random. They are part of the divine preparation that has shaped you into the person you are today. You are not here by accident. You are marked. You have always been marked. And the awakening Enoch foresaw is already happening within you. This is just the beginning. The awakening is not an event, it's a process, a deep, transformative process that begins when you realize who you truly are. It's the moment you stop walking through life aimlessly and start walking with purpose. You were born to bring light into this world. And that light, though it may feel small or hidden now, has the power to disrupt the darkness. Just like Enoch, you were chosen to see what others cannot see, to do what others cannot do, to awaken a generation that is waiting for someone like you. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." You are not just a part of this story, you are the continuation of it. The light that Enoch saw burning in you, even before you were born, is now waiting to ignite. Your journey, your struggles, and your victories will guide others. The pain you've endured will become the very source of your strength. It will be the fire that lights the way for others. And when you stand firm in your purpose, you will not only change your own life, you will change the world. I invite you to share this message with those who need to hear it. If you've been inspired, moved, or awakened by what you've just heard, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below to let me know how you've connected with this message. And if you feel led, please consider supporting this channel by subscribing and even using super thanks to keep this message of awakening and empowerment flowing to more souls across the world. I want to thank each and every one of you, whether you've supported through a donation or simply by watching, liking, and sharing. Your presence here is a sign that the awakening is happening, and your part in this journey is more significant than you know. I pray that each of you feels the divine strength that Enoch prayed for, the strength to carry the mark and to walk boldly in your purpose. May you continue to rise, even in the face of struggle, and may the fire within you never be extinguished. I bless you with the clarity to see your divine calling, the courage to step into your destiny, and the peace that comes from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be. You are not alone, you are chosen, you are marked, and now it's time for you to rise. Blessings to all of you.